Welcome to OCR News Weekly. Today is Friday, August 4th, 2017. I'm Margaret Schlachter, and thanks for joining me on this live broadcast, or if you're listening on your favorite player, our recast of this week's episode. Today's headlines come from Spartan Race, Tough Mudder, and the CrossFit Games. Our first story this week comes from Spartan Race. Last weekend, Spartan Race made its fourth stop on the U.S. Championship Tour in Asheville, North Carolina, where Hobie Call clinched the series with another win. Call and Ryan Atkins played a cat-and-mouse game for much of the race, but eventually Call pulled away, taking a commanding lead, and clinched the series. Brian Gawitsky rounded out the podium in third place with a strong run in his first U.S. Championships podium. Over on the women's side, Lindsay Webster claimed a win after a hair malfunction in the barbed wire and a missed spear throw. Webster had a strong second half of the race, which she edged out Rhea Coble for the win. Faye Stenning also had a strong race, finishing third, helping her move up in the rankings. The last stop of the U.S. Championship Tour is later this month in West Virginia for the finale before heading into the Spartan World Championships. The West Virginia Beast is set to take place August 26th and 27th and will be broadcast live on Facebook and on YouTube. Our next story this week comes from Tough Mudder. Tough Mudder announced earlier this week an additional way for participants to take on World's Toughest Mudder this fall in Las Vegas, Nevada, with the addition of the National Team Relay. The National Team Relay puts 4+ athletes together from the same country. This is in addition to the two-person team event, and additionally, athletes will be able to have bragging rights saying their country was the fastest at World's Toughest Mudder. The top team will win $10,000, and Tough Mudder is currently taking applications for the National Team Relay. More information can be found on that on our website and on Tough Mudder's website. The next story is Randy Moss returns to West Virginia to host a benefit race for the Spartan Foundation, which raises money for kids. Football legend Randy Moss is set to host a benefit Spartan race in West Virginia for the Spartan Foundation. The event is set to take place just ahead of the last stop that we just talked about for the 2017 Spartan Race U.S. Championship Tour. The event is set for August 25th, 2017. Registration is $250 with all proceeds benefiting the Spartan Foundation. And the Spartan Foundation is dedicated to making healthy the new normal for the next generation and has forged partnerships with organizations that share its values, including Autism Speaks, the Jimmy Johnson Foundation, and Shriners Hospital for Children. Our last story this week comes from the CrossFit Games, and CrossFit athletes set out this morning on an obstacle course for the second time in Games history. It was a chilly and rainy morning for the athletes, making the course a little more challenging. Athletes had an 8-minute time cap in the team event and a 2-minute time cap in the individual event to make it to, in the team event, the end of the course and back, and just one way for the individuals. And as we saw this morning, teams struggled with the rope swing and some slick logs. We talked to one of the builders this morning, Ian O'Hara, who was a build director and also is on the OCR World Championships build team, and he said that those logs were extremely slippery there, and they looked great on television, but they were extremely slick once the water and the rain got on them. So the course was also built by a few familiar names and faces in the OCR world, including Garfield Griffiths, who's currently working for Spartan Race, Ian O'Hara, who we just mentioned, who was the build director for that course and is also part of the build crew for the U.S. OCR Championships and the OCR World Championships. Hubie Cushman, the founder of Indian Mud Run, was also on that build, and many others. So it was definitely an obstacle-heavy all-star build team on that course today. So next, we move this week into the results. We have some top results from around the OCR world as we inch closer to the championship season. And our first results, as we talked about before, come from Asheville Spartan Race, where Hobie Call took the win. Ryan Atkins finished second, and Brian Gawitsky finished third. On the women's side, it was Lindsay Webster winning the race, Rhea Coble second, and Faye Stenning third. Next, we move on to Mud Ninja, which was in Ohio, and winning the race was Logan Broadbent, second place Taylor Clark, and third place Wyatt Wilkin. Over on the women's side, Amy Pagic took the win with Sarah Bevan in second and Alyssa Haynes in third place. Warrior Dash was over in Michigan, and Kevin Thompson took the win, Clint Post second, and Jason Bigelow third. On the women's side, it was Jordan Ross winning the race, Megan Matthews second, and Ashley Hartsuff in third place. And the last two races we have, Viking Obstacle Race took place last Sunday at Sunny Hill Resort in upstate New York, with Jarrett Newby winning the race, Travis Rawson in second, and Matthew Carroll in third place. And on the women's side, it was Cassandra Ullman in first, Laura Cummings in second, and Tara Cholpa in third place. And finally, we round out the results this week with a fan favorite always, and that's Savage Race. Winning the race once again was Yuri Force, second place James Zirk, and third place Jordan Buscemi. Over on the women's side, it was Julie Harches in first place, Ashley Samples in second place, and for anyone who, if you haven't had an opportunity yet, I highly suggest heading over to the Savage Race stream and see how that 1-2 on the women's sides shook up. It all came down to one grip obstacle really at the end, where Ashley Samples had a sizable lead but just couldn't make it through an obstacle for a little while, and Julie ended up passing her right at the end of the race. So highly recommend checking that out. And in third place in that Savage Race for women was Frederique Lagarge, and that rounds out your results for this week. Looking ahead to this weekend, Rugged Maniac heads to Pennsylvania, Conquer the Gauntlet is in Iowa, Spartan Race is in both Massachusetts and Utah, Tough Mudder heads to Western New York, Warrior Dash is in Maryland, Muckfest MS is in Michigan, Boulder Dash is in Rhode Island, and as we move outside the continental U.S., Spartan Race has their trifecta weekend as well in Hawaii. Speaking of Spartan Race, they are also up in Ottawa this weekend in Canada, and Prison Break Race is in Quebec. Outside the United States, we have Warrior Dash in Cumbria, and Ref Runner is in Edinburgh, both in the United Kingdom. We have the Kiev Ukraine race in Odessa, Ukraine, and finally Heroes Obstacle Race in Lahti in Estonia. And anybody from Estonia can tell me how to properly pronounce that. Anyways, so for the full list of races this weekend, check out the race calendar on mudrunguide.com. That's it for this week in OCR and OCR News Weekly, powered by Mud Run Guide. Join us next week for all the news and results from around the industry. And if you missed the live broadcast, you can find this episode on your favorite podcast players and YouTube. So this is Margaret Schlechter signing off for the week. Best of luck to all of you racing this weekend. Have a fun and muddy weekend. And that's all for me. Bye-bye.